ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपा कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरुं वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगण रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपदान् सहगना ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च। हे कृष्णा करुणा सिन्धु दीनबन्धु जगत्पते गोपेशा गोपिका कान्ता राधाकान्ता नमोऽस्तुते। तप्तकाञ्चना गौराङ्गी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्यैव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैता गदाधारा श्रीवासादि गौरभक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। नष्टप्रायेषु भद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवती उत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी। कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय देवकी नन्दनाय च नन्दगोपकुमाराय गोविन्दाय नमो नमः। नमः पङ्कजनाभाय नमः पङ्कजमालिने नमः पङ्कजनेत्राय नमस्ते पङ्कजाङ्ग्रये। नमो महावदन्याय कृष्णप्रेमप्रदायते कृष्णाय कृष्णचैतन्य नामिने गौरत्विषे नमः। नमो ब्राह्मण्याय देवाय गोब्राह्मणहिताय च जगद्दिताय कृष्णाय गोविन्दाय नमो नमः। नमो विष्णुपदाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिनिति नामिने। नमस्ते सरस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौरभक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्णा हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्णा हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्णा हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। जय राधा माधव कुंज विहारी गोपीजन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी। जय राधा माधव कुंज विहारी गोपीजन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी। यशोदनन्दन व्रज जन रञ्जन यमुना तीरवनचारी। यशोदनन्दन व्रज जन रञ्जन यमुना तीरवनचारी। जय राधा माधव कुंज विहारी विभीषण वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी। जय राधा माधव कुंज विहारी गोपीजन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी। Today we will continue the discussion from Srimad Bhagavatam. Srimad Bhagavatam, we were discussing 7th canto, 11th chapter. 7th canto, 11th chapter, we have discussed up to 30 verses. We will continue from the 31st verse. So, this section, especially, um, is actually a discussion between Narad Muni and Yudhishthir Maharaj. Narad Muni is telling Yudhishthir Maharaj about the different social classes, the Brahmanas, the Kshatriyas, the Vaishyas, and the Shudras. In the previous class, there was discussion around uh, what are the duties and who is a Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Shudra. So this was what was discussed in the previous class. So we'll continue the discussion from there. Okay. So this is 31st verse, 7th canto, 11th chapter, 31st verse. Anyone would like to read the translation and the purport as well?
Sucharita Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Pranam.
Yeah, don't pranam Mataji. 1 minute, Mataji. I'm just increasing the font.
Sure, Prabhuji. Please.
Yeah, Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah. I'm just rotating. Yeah. Translation. My dear king, Brahmanas well conversant in Vedic knowledge have been there, verdict that in every age, yuga, the conduct of different sections of people according to their material modes of nature is auspicious both in this life and after death. Hare Krishna Mataji.
Prabhuji, purport also, because it is very small, we can just cover it also, yeah.
Okay, Mataji. Mataji, can you scroll up? Yeah.
Sure,
In
Prabhuji.
Bhagavad Gita 3.35, it is said, Shreyam Swadharmo श्रेयान स्वधर्मो विगुणः पराधर्मात् धर्मात् स्वानुष्ठितात्. It is far better to discharge one's prescribed duty even though they may be faulty than another's duties. The Antyajas, the men of their lower classes, are uh, accustomed to stealing, drinking, and illicit sex, but that is not considered sinful. For example, if a tiger kills a man, this is not sinful, but if man kills another man, this is considered sinful, and the killer is hanged. But is a daily affair among the animals is a sinful act in human society. Thus, according to the symptoms of higher and lower sections of society, there are different varieties of occupational duties. According to the expert in Vedic knowledge, these duties are prescribed in terms of the age concerned. Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna, thank you, Prabhuji. So, in this, like we have been discussing in the previous section also, the social classes that are there, they have been according to one's nature and the kind of activities they have been doing. It is not by birth that one becomes a Brahmana or it becomes a Kshatriya or a Shudra or a Vaishya. So it is because according to one's activities and nature. So this is exactly what we can see that is mentioned in Srimad Bhagavatam in this verse, wherein it is said according to our nature, according to the material modes of nature, we should be executing our duties, and we should be actually doing our duties, which might Bhagavad Gita especially there is mention that it is better to do our prescribed duties, even we might not do it to a perfection, but still it is really good to actually continue enduring duties that are our prescribed duties than doing duties of others. So that is what Bhagavad Gita says, and uh, Especially, Prabhupada says in his purport that the lower class of people, they actually do things which are not acceptable, especially for anyone who is having a higher consciousness. Whatever the lower class people, who are called as anthejas,
I told to communicate and don't walk in watching the phone. Not a culture. Just holding it, keeping on walking. No, don't do that. Sit down and watch. I told.
sorry, I just muted. Yeah. So, Prabhupada is saying the Antyajas or the men of the lower classes, they are actually accustomed to doing things which are abominable, like stealing, drinking, illicit sex, and all. That is according to their nature. But for the people with higher consciousness, this is totally not recommended and it is sinful. The example that Prabhupada has given is that. If a tiger kills an animal, that is the way it actually gets its food. But human beings, they are not allowed to kill animals. That is considered as sin. It is actually, if you kill another man, it is a murder, right? And such is punishable also under law, and one might be hanged. So that is how bad it is considered for a human being. But for animals, this is a common way, especially for the tiger, it is a common way of finding its food. So, based on where one is located in terms of their consciousness and in the social class, their activities should be according to that. Hmm? And generally, the lower class have activities which are abominable, but that is not recommended for the higher or the other classes in the society. Will continue. Yeah. Someone can read the translation and purport.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna
Tat
Prabhuji.
Pranam Mataji.
Dandavat Pranam.
Translation by Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. One act in his profession according to his position in the modes of nature are gradually given up. These activities, he attains the Nishkama stage. Purport. If one gradually gives up his hereditary custom and duties and tries to serve the supreme personality of Godhead in his natural position, he is gradually able to become free from these activities and he attains the stage of Nishkama, freedom from material desires. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So, here, specifically in this shloka, our it is guiding us to actually how can we free ourselves from material desires, right? So the activities that we have been doing, some we have been following from what comes as hereditary, and we have been continue some have been continuing, more so with some occupations. People have been continuing it as an occupation because their father has been doing, forefather has been doing, and these activities are coming down in like that, and some duties are also being executed like that. But either those activities have to be centered around the supreme personality of Godhead to actually be able to get free from the material desires, or according to one's natural position, what comes natural to us, we have to do activities, again keeping Krishna at center. By doing so, we will be able to slowly free ourselves from the material desires. uh, if we actually do activities uh, which are as per our natural position, or where we are situated in the mode of goodness, passion, or ignorance, it is easy for us to do those activities without over endeavoring. And then when we do those activities as a dharma, and also with keeping in focus that all activities are done for the pleasure of the Supreme Lord, and all the results are for the Supreme Lord, we will be we can slowly elevate our consciousness, where we will actually be freed from material desires. The next shloka. Anyone wants to read the translation and purport?
Take
Hare
continue.
Krishna Mataji.
Okay, Hare Krishna, go ahead.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dhanavad Pranam. Translations and purports by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. My dear King, if an agriculture field is cultivated again and again, the power of its production decreases, and whatever seeds are sown, they are lost. Just as drops of ghee on a fire never extinguish the fire, but if flood of ghee will. Similarly, overindulgence in lusty desires migrates such desires entirely. Purport: if one continuously sprinkles drops of ghee on a fire, the fire will not extinguish. But if one suddenly puts a hump of ghee on a fire, the fire may possibly extinguish entirely. Similarly, those who are too sinful and have thus been born in the lower classes are allowed and enjoy sinful activities fully. For thus, there is a chance that these activities will become detestful to them, and they will get opportunity to be purified. Hare
Thank
Krishna.
you. Hare Krishna. So, in this verse, specifically, it is being told from the purport and from the translation, we see that doing activities repeatedly, sometimes we kind of start to kind of not have as much interest in those activities, right? So sometimes when we eat something too many times, say for example, every day I'm eating paneer, it is likely that I might not uh, uh, have that much of taste for that, and finally I might not even like to eat it. So this is the reasoning that is given why the lower class people are sometimes allowed to actually do activities which are not right as per moral codes, because when they overindulge themselves, they might start to detest, that is to hate those activities. For sure, I have heard of some people who are who are very very used to taking alcohol, and after they kind of were too much indulged into it, they kind of felt one fine day they said, this is not something I want to do it, right? So they understand, they either they kind of develop a hatred, or they understand what goes wrong with that kind of approach. Prabhupada explains, this is a very there is a very nice analogy, two analogies that are discussed. One is of a farmland. In a farmland, when we grow when we grow a crop, the crop uses the nutrient from the soil, and it kind of grows. And when repeatedly it is cultivated, what happens is its production or yield goes on decreasing, right? There and finally, when the one day when the seeds are sown, they will not even grow. It is like the waste; the seeds are wasted. The second analogy that Srila Prabhupada is giving, is explaining here, is from in what is that when we put some heat in the fire grows. But if suddenly, if we were to put a large amount of ghee, we see that the fire will kind of extinguish, and we see more of fumes or smoke around. Right. So similarly, the people who are doing abominable activities may give up those activities when they are overindulging in it. So that is how uh, these activities are there for the lower modes, so that maybe one day they can come out of it, right? So that is the idea behind it. Okay. Section next was translation and purport.
Can I read, Mataji? Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, please, Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Dandavat Pranam.
Dandavat Pranam.
Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai.
If one shows the symptoms of being a Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya or Shudra, as described above, even if he has appeared in a different class, he should be accepted according to those symptoms of qualification. Purport. Herein it is clearly stated by Narad Muni that one should not be accepted as a Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya or Shudra according to birth. For although this is going on now, it is not accepted by the Shastras. As stated in Bhagavad Gita 4.13, Chaturvarnyam maya shrishtam gunakarma vibhagasha. Thus, the four divisions of society, Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Shudra, are to be ascertained according to qualities and activities. If one was born in a Brahmana family and has acquired the Brahmanical qualifications, he is to be accepted as a Brahmana. Otherwise, he should be considered a Brahma Bandhu. Similarly, if a Shudra acquires the qualities of a Brahmana, although he was born in Shudra family, he is not a Shudra. Because he has developed the qualities of Brahmana, he should be accepted as a Brahmana. The Krishna consciousness movement is meant to develop these Brahmanical qualities. Regardless of the community in which one was born, if one develops if one develops the qualities of a Brahmana, he should be accepted as a Brahmana, and he then may be offered the order of sannyasa. Unless one is qualified in terms of the Brahmanical symptoms, one cannot take sannyasa. In designating a person a Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, or Shudra, birth is not the essential symptom. This understanding is very important. Herein, Narada Muni distinctly says that one may be accepted according to the caste of his birth, and he has the corresponding qualifications, but otherwise he should not. One who has attained the qualifications of a Brahmana, regardless of where he was born, should be accepted as a Brahmana. Similarly, if one has developed the qualities of a Shudra or a Chandala, regardless of where he was born, he should be accepted in terms of these symptoms. Thus end the Bhaktivedanta purports of the 7th canto, 11th chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled The Perfect Society, Four Social Classes. Hare Krishna.
So, in this verse specifically, it is clearly said in Srimad Bhagavatam itself, one belongs to a social class according to one's qualities. It is not by one's birth that one is put into any social class or any caste, right? So, one might be, Prabhupada is further explaining that one might be born in a Brahmana family, but if one does not acquire those Brahminical qualities, one is cannot be called as a Brahmana. He has to be called as a Brahma Bandhu specifically, but cannot be called as a Brahmana. Similarly, so being taking birth in a higher or a social class does not guarantee one to belong to that social class unless one has those qualities in them or develops those qualities. Uh, it is definitely possible to develop qualities, especially Srila Prabhupada says that the Krishna consciousness movement is meant to develop Brahminical qualities, right? So, those qualities, by those qualities, even one, irrespective of where they are born, in which class or caste they are born, one can be elevated to the position of a Brahmana, and then one can accept sannyasa is what is mentioned in the purport. That is what Srila Prabhupada says. On the other hand, if one is not developing qualities or having qualities of any social order, they do not belong to that social class just by birth. Okay, so with that, we have completed the 11th chapter, which says the perfect in the perfect society, the perfect society and the four social classes. Okay, we will move on to the 12th chapter. Okay, so far we have been discussing about the social classes. Okay, according to one's activities, that discussion is about the varnas. Okay, and now Narad Muni is moving the discussion to the ashramas. Okay, the discussion moves to the ashramas. There are four ashramas: brahmacharya, grihastha, vanaprastha, and sannyasa. Okay, so now the discussion moves to the ashramas to understand what is expectation from each of the ashramas, right? And and how do we kind of conduct ourselves in these ashramas? Okay, and there is specific mention, especially about the brahmacharya ashram and the sannyasa ashram in this particular section. And also, from the brahmacharya ashram, how one transitions to grihastha ashram and vanaprastha and sannyasa. It is not necessary to from brahmacharya ashram to actually transition to grihastha and vanaprastha. One can take up sannyasa as well, but how one can make that transition, how one can change, is what we can see. Um Also, specifically, there are guidelines on how one can be in these ashramas. Okay, let us go to text one. The translation, please.
Hare Krishna Mataji. Can I read?
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandi Pranam.
Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai Hind.
Translation. Narad Muni said, a student should practice completely controlling his senses. He should be submissive and should have an attitude of firm friendship for the spiritual master. With a great vow, the brahmachari should live at the Gurukula only for the benefit of the Guru.
So, this particular verse, Narad Muni is talking about the one in Brahmacharya ashram, who is in Brahmacharya. Uh, So how should one should be in this particular ashram, right? So this ashram is a training process where one is trying to control his senses, right? And and also there is a mention of how the dealing should be with the spiritual master, right? The dealings with the spiritual master should be one of great surrender and submissive attitude, and also a firm friendship for the spiritual master, attitude of firm friendship with the for the spiritual master. Also, one should actually be living in a gurukula, okay, and during one stay in gurukula, one should be under the guidance of the guru, and take a firm vow that one should be able to do activities and stay in the Gurukula for the benefit of the Guru. So this is what is recommended here. Okay, we'll move on to text 2. Can someone please read the translation?
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare
Translation
Krishna.
and purport by Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai.
Translation. At both junctions of a day and night, namely in the early morning and in the evening, he should be fully absorbed in thoughts of the spiritual master, fire the sun god, the Lord Vishnu, and by chanting the Gayatri mantra, he should worship them.
Yeah. Further, in Srimad Bhagavatam, it is said uh, what what are the things that one should do in Brahmacharya ashram, right? So specifically, there is mention of chanting Gayatri mantra, and also how one should be absorbed in spiritual master, fire, the sun god, and Lord Vishnu. Okay, one should be absorbed. This should be the absorption, especially during the Sandhya time, right? So in lot of places they say Sandhya Vandanam, right? So during the junctions between uh, day and night, and night and day, this is where it is prescribed for someone in the brahmacharya ashram to actually be absorbed in the spiritual master, right? Spiritual master, fire, the sun god, and Vishnu. So that is also mentioned here. Text 3.
Hare Krishna Mataji, can I read it?
Yes, Mataji, please.
Yes. Being called by the spiritual master, the student should study the Vedic mantras regularly. Every day before beginning his studies and at the end of his studies, the disciple should respectfully offer obeisances unto the spiritual master. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So this is Srimad Bhagavatam is giving guidelines as to how a student should conduct uh, with respect to the spiritual master, right? So when the spiritual master is uh, um, calling for it, is saying what the student should actually study Vedic mantras regularly, and also every day before beginning the study and after completing the study, one should offer obeisance to unto the spiritual master. There is something personally I think I've learned from this is that one should actually kind of endeavor to read scriptures regularly, hear regularly, and always have prayerful obeisances unto the spiritual masters before and after these practices. This is something I would like to take as a takeaway or try to implement. We'll move on. Text 4. Anyone can read the translation?
I'll read Mataji. Carrying pure kusha grass in his hand, the brahmachari should dress regularly with a belt of straw and with deerskin garments. He should wear matted hair, carry a rod and water pot, and be decorated with a sacred thread, as recommended in the Shastras.
Yeah. So there are more guidelines from the for the brahmachari as to how one should be, right? So there is and as practicing Vaishnavas also we have certain etiquettes that we follow. Similarly, for the brahmachari, especially in this brahmachari ashram, it is mentioned as to how one should dress, right, with a belt of straw and wear deerskin garments. The hair should be matted. There should be the rod and a water pot, and also the sacred thread should be there. This brahmachari should actually carry kusha grass. So these are all guidelines for the brahmachari. Srimad Bhagavatam is giving guidelines so that there is no confusion. It's clearly mentioned now what is to do. Okay, we'll move on. Yeah. Yeah, text 5. Anyone can read text 5?
Translation: the brahmachari should go out morning and evening to collect alms, and he should offer all that he collects to the spiritual master. He should eat only if ordered to take food by the spiritual master. Otherwise, if the spiritual master does not give this order, he may sometimes have to fast.
Hare Krishna. So this is what is said with respect to how a brahmachari should eat, right? Uh, they have to go and collect alms, and whatever the brahmachari collects is given to the spiritual master, and only when the spiritual master allows, then the brahmachari is allowed to eat. Suppose the spiritual master is busy with some of the his duties, activities, and he has forgotten to ask the disciple to take prasadam. Then it is wise, or it is the disciple should actually not take prasadam because his guru has not given him an instruction that he can actually, the guru has not allowed him to take prasadam. So recently, when I visited Bangalore to hear from His Holiness Rompad Swami Maharaj, Maharaj was telling about Ramayana. Ramayana, when Hanuman actually enters Lanka, there was so much of distraction for him in many ways, in terms of the opulence, the beautiful woman, the kind of merrymaking everyone was doing. There was so much of distraction. But Hanuman did not get distracted. He remembered always that he was going for Ramakaryam. He was in the service of Lord Rama, right? So Maharaj said this is because Hanuman actually was following his guru properly. So Hanuman's guru is sun god. He is following his guru properly, and in this context, Maharaj said one should first find a guru, a bona fide guru, and once you find a bona fide guru, you should be able to follow the instructions of the guru. You should be endeavoring to do that, right? And that is how Hanuman actually was able to stay without getting distracted, or we can learn from the example of Hanuman. Hanuman is a pure devotee, definitely, certainly above any of the conditioned souls. But this is what we learn is that when we have a guru and we are following the instructions of guru, it is easier for us to execute our duties and do our services without losing focus and without getting distracted in any way. At that time, Maharaj actually shared a document about a disciple called Upamanyu. Okay, Upamanyu, from Upamanyu's story, we actually learn how to be devoted and how to actually develop that mood of surrender and submission to the to Guru, especially. Okay, so Upamanyu was the disciple of Ayodhya Dhaumya, and he was actually entrusted the task of grazing the cows by his guru, right? And uh, and he saw Upamanyu was actually very healthy, hale and healthy. And one day, Ayodhya Dhaumya, he asked Upamanyu, I see you quite hale and healthy. So what have you been eating, right? What have you been eating? Then Upamanyu says, I have been eating all the alms that I am receiving. Then, in order to kind of train the disciple, Guru says, you have to give me all the alms before you eat, and only after I give you alms, first it has to be offered to the Guru, and then only you can honor the prasadam that is there. Then, after a few days, again Upamanyu is looking very hale and healthy, though he did not receive any alms from the Guru. And then Guru asked him again, why what are you eating, Upamanyu, that you are still very hale and healthy, though I'm not giving you any of the alms, right? Or any prasadam I'm not giving. Then Upamanyu says, I am again going and actually begging for alms the second time. And when I get alms in the second time, I'm actually taking those as my prasadam. Then Guru says, you should not go and take alms for the second time. It will be perceived as being greedy. And when you take alms for the second time, you are actually taking share of alms that the other students or disciples might have got. So you're actually taking their share, which is very being greedy, and it is not good for you. Don't take alms for the second time. Then Upamanyu stopped this practice of taking alms for the second time. And the third time, Upamanyu was again looking very healthy. Then his guru asked, what have you been doing, Upamanyu? How are you sustaining yourself? Then Upamanyu says, I have been drinking the milk of the cows that I have been grazing. Like that, I am trying to sustain myself. Then the guru says, no, no, please don't drink the milk of the cow. The guru is actually trying to train him to actually understand how much he is able to follow whatever is being told. So he tells, Guru says, don't take the cow's milk. Then Upamanyu stops taking cow's milk. After that, uh, after that, sure, Prabhuji, Hare Krishna. Dandavat Pranam. So after that, what happens is that After a few days, again the Guru has a question how Upamanyu is sustaining himself. Then he says he's drinking from the calf's mouth, whatever the calf is dropping, the drool of milk, and he's drinking that. Then the Guru says you should not do that because the cows and calves are by nature very, very merciful. So if they know that you're actually taking that, they'll try to do more and more of it, and you will be eating into their share, right? So you'll be drinking into their share. Please don't do it, right? So he that was also stopped by his guru. Then out of intense hunger, what Upamanyu does is he eats the leaves, forest leaves. There were some poisonous leaves called arc leaves, which were bitter. They were not good to taste, but hunger, he just had those bitter leaves, and then it was poisonous. As a result, because of eating of these leaves, suddenly Upamanyu instantly he became blind. And it was evening time. He wants to go home, go to the ashram back. So he was wandering in the forest and he falls in a well. After he falls in the well and he doesn't return at night, his guru is telling other disciples, I have maybe been telling Upamanyu not to do this, not to do that. And then as a result, maybe he has not returned to the ashram. Let us go and find him. Then uh, they go to the forest and they start searching for Upamanyu. When they start searching for the Upamanyu, and finally they hear a feeble voice from the well. And when they find him in the well, they ask him what happened. And Upamanyu explains how he actually ate those poisonous leaves, and when he had those poisonous leaves he became blind. Hearing to that, his guru was actually very, very pleased to understand how, to what extent he was trying to follow the instructions of his guru, right? So that was actually something which pleased the guru. And then the guru asked him to pray to Ashwini Kumaras, and for him to be healed, right? So when you have a capable guru, when you have a bona fide guru, when you follow the instructions of the guru, in case you land into trouble, right? In case you land into trouble, guru is always there. Okay, Guru is always there. We should have that firm faith. So Guru guides him to actually pray to Ashwini Kumaras. And when Ashwini Kumaras come, Ashwini Kumaras actually they give him give him sweet rice, some medicated sweet rice, and they say, please have this. You will be uh, cured. Then Upamanyu says, no, no, my Guru has not given me permission. My guru has not given me permission to take this. I cannot take it. He has gone blind because of the arc leaves. He is not able to see. In spite of that, Upamanyu says, no, no, I cannot take this because my guru has not taken it. In order to test him further, the Ashwini Kumaras say, your guru has not offered to his guru. Do you still want to offer to your guru and have the sweet rice? This is what Ashwini Kumaras say to check on him. And Upamanyu says, yes, I still can't have it because my guru has not given permission, right? So that actually very much pleased Ashwini Kumaras and his guru, Ayodhya Dhamya, and to that extent that his sight was restored and his teeth turned of gold, and his guru says, may you have a memory wherein you can remember Vedas and Dharma Shastras very easily, and you might learn it very easily. So that is how Upamanyu got the mercy of his guru, right? Following the instructions of guru is an easy way of getting mercy of the spiritual master, right? One should always endeavor to follow the instructions. So, but sometimes um, it is said, right, that in material world we say God cannot be everywhere, but that is why God cannot be here, so He created mother, which is not true. God is everywhere. That is very true, but that is just glorifying who a mother is. Similarly, just like to give an example, spiritual master might not be present always, though his Vani is already there. Vapu might not be there always. He's always there with his Vani. And also, we are blessed to have the representative of the spiritual master in the form of our spiritual mentor. Our spiritual mentor is actually our representative of the spiritual master. So we should always endeavor to take instructions and always try to follow those instructions without having a questioning spirit. Mostly it should be in the spirit of submission and surrender, right? So that is how the spiritual master's instructions come through the instructions of the spiritual mentor, the Siksha Guru that is there. We are so blessed to have wonderful Siksha Guru, gurus in the form of His Grace Leeland Prabhuji and Her Grace Anuradha Priya Mataji. We're very fortunate when they say something. I kind of always think this is coming from my spiritual master, and I always try to endeavor. Not everything is easy. Not everything will be easy because this is a process of transformation. I am actually spiritually growing, so they will be and they should be instances where I get to move out of my comfort zones. Sometimes the instructions are very difficult to follow. Sometimes the instructions are like literally attacking my false ego, the anarthas I have, the tendencies, all the bad tendencies that I have. But following those instructions will actually help me uh, progress, make the spiritual progress that is needed for me. Okay, with that, and sometimes when try to follow those instructions, also it is a possibility that we are not able to follow those instructions completely, even when we try doing it, right? So I have understood is that we keep at it, right? We might not be able to do it, but we still keep at it. Say, for example, we are asked to read Srimad Bhagavatam. So we are trying to read. Sometimes we might miss reading it. Still, we have to keep reading. Sometimes we are not able to, we are told to take notes. We are not able to take notes, or we have missed taking notes. But we should still keep endeavoring. It is a lifelong or a long term activity. It's not that an instruction is given and on that day itself you have to accomplish that instruction. For example, one of the instructions I got from my spiritual master is to how to do attentive chanting. I kind of remember those instructions and continuously I try to improve my chanting. I try to keep it as attentive chanting. There are days, he himself tells there are days when it might be worse and much worse, right? Much worse, not because every day else it is good, but much worse because it is much beyond what I have expected for myself to do, right? So even then, how we can keep at it, right? So these instructions sometimes are long term. It is not very instantaneous. So we have to keep at it. So that is what is mentioned in Srimad Bhagavatam also, on how one should actually be following the instructions of the spiritual master and his representatives. Right, we'll move on to the sixth verse. Can someone please read the translation and purport?
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dhanavad Pranam.
Dhanavad Pranam.
Translation purport by Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srimad Bhagavatam 7th Canto, 12th chapter, 6th verse. Translation: A brahmachari should be quite well behaved and gentle and should not eat or collect more than necessary. He must always be active and expert, fully believing the instructions of the spiritual master and the Shastra, fully controlling his senses. He should associate only as much as necessary with women or those controlled by women. Purport: A brahmachari should be very careful not to mix with women or with men addicted to women. Although
when he goes out to beg alms, it is necessary to talk with women and with men very much attached to women. This association should be very short, and he should talk with them only about begging alms and not more. A brahmachari should be very careful in associating with men who are attached to women. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, thank you, Prabhuji. So here, further it is said how a brahmachari should conduct himself in his behavior. For someone who is advancing spiritually also, one should be quite well behaved and gentle. Okay, and we also hear in the nectar of instruction that one should not over endeavor, right? Atyahara prayasascha. So one should not eat or collect more than necessary, right? So that is not something advisable for one who wants to spiritually progress. And this is what Srimad Bhagavatam is saying. Uh, from the example of a brahmachari, right? It should be like one should not over endeavor, not overeat, and not collect more than necessary, right? And one should also be active and expert. One should be active, enthusiastic, right? One should be enthusiastic, and one should have faith in the instructions of the spiritual master, right? It is many times we see, so when the spiritual master gives some instruction, it puts us a test to our faith, whether we are able to take it in a submissive spirit. Are we questioning it? Are we thinking we know better things to do? Are we thinking that my guru or my spiritual mentor does not understand fully about me, so maybe they are giving me this instruction? Are we questioning what they have said to us, right? So these are some things which are tests to our faith, tests to our thinking, our test to our submissive and attitude of surrender, right? So there is, I heard long back from His Holiness Rompat Swami Maharaj that we have a certain degree of faith, and that degree of faith has to grow, right? So all of us have a degree of faith, and on the instructions of the spiritual master, the spiritual mentor, we have to keep that degree of faith, keep growing, okay, keep believing that they are representatives of Krishna, and they for sure know what is good for us, right? Whatever seems really that maybe this is, it doesn't apply to me, is not true. They surely are empowered souls, and they are pure devotees who come into our life to help us go back to Krishna. They, that is the purpose that are there, they are there in our life. We should be very grateful, and if guru is giving instruction, spiritual mentor is giving instruction, it calls for lot of gratitude that they are thinking of us, thinking for our well-being, our spiritual well-being, and they are giving us instructions, and definitely they are applicable to us, and we have to endeavor to actually keep at it, keep at it. And if we face difficulties, it is also good to go back and let them know. There is no harm in letting them know the difficulties we are facing, but not endeavoring to do those instructions or follow the instructions are not good for a sadhaka. They are not good for a sadhaka, right? So sometimes the spiritual mentor guru still says you may consider, because they don't want us to do guru avagna. They will say you may consider, but you may consider means you have to do. It is not you may consider. Please don't see as you may consider, and don't neglect those instructions. And those instructions are very valuable, very valuable, right? So that is what is said here. One should fully, for the brahmachari, he should fully believe in the instructions of the spiritual master and shastras. Yes, shastras are again a means of actually receiving uh, instructions, receiving knowledge. When we apply them, they can actually transform us, right? Hearing and reading, I have been told, should be with an intention actually apply those learnings. When we apply those learnings, that is when it will actually transform us, right? So one is of course the purification of the heart, which happens just by hearing and reading. That is okay. But apart from that, the greater transformation that we can endeavor is also through applying those learnings, right? And towards the end of this translation, it is said the brahmachari should control his senses, right? Controlling senses is something which is very, very important, right? And specifically when he associates with women and those controlled by women. So it is said that when you interact with the opposite gender, one has to be very mindful, right? Generally avoid such interactions private unless it is necessary, and if it is necessary, please keep it to the discussion to how much or whatever was required, right? One has to be very, very mindful. In case of a brahmachari, there are two things that are said. My understanding till I read this part of Srimad Bhagavatam was that a brahmachari should not associate with women. This understanding I had, but also it is mentioned here, and those controlled by women or addicted to women, right? Even such men are someone that the brahmachari should not associate, right? Because we know association is very, very powerful, right? With association, we can actually develop those spiritual qualities that we are endeavoring to, right? It is very easy to develop those qualities with having the right kind of association. Likewise, if we do not if we are having a wrong association, it can actually, instead of taking us on the path of bhakti, helping us make spiritual progress, it can be detrimental to our spiritual progress. It is very detrimental to our spiritual progress. That is why when it comes to association, it is said, even in amongst practicing devotees, it is said that we should try to take association of people who are more spiritually advanced. We should have a kind of respect and a learning tendency for people at similar spiritual level, uh, learning the right kind of things and associating in the right way. And for people who are at a spiritual level lower, one should not take association of them. What is meant by taking association? Association in the sense getting inspired or following or getting influenced by what they say, right? If you are getting influenced by someone who is at a lower spiritual consciousness, you might get uh, kind of mm, distracted from your spiritual progress, because that is not that advice or that kind of association is not helping you make spiritual progress. So one should be very careful when it comes to association. For a brahmachari especially, one should not be attached to women, to sorry, associate with women and men who are attached to women, right? And but the nature of activity or something might require them to interact with women, then it should be up to whatever is required. We will move on to seventh verse. Can someone please read the translation and purport?
Okay, Mataji, if no one,
I will
I'll
read.
read.
I will read.
Yeah, go ahead. Who is that?
This is Sunil Prabhu.
Hare
Continue,
Krishna.
bro.
Yeah.
Yeah. Start. A brahmachari, or one who has not accepted the grast ashram, family life, must rightly avoid talking with women or about women, for the senses are so powerful that they may agitate even the mind of a sannyasi, a member of the renounced order of life. Purport. Brahmacharya essentially means the vow not to marry but to observe strict celibacy, Brihad Vrata.
A brahmachari or sannyasi should avoid talking with women or reading literature concerning talks between man and woman. The injunction restricting association with women is the basic principle of spiritual life. Associating or talking with women is never advised in any of the Vedic literatures. The entire Vedic system teaches one to avoid sex life so that one may gradually progress from brahmacharya to grasta, from grasta to vanaprastha, and from vanaprastha to sannyasa, and thus give up material enjoyment, which is the original cause of bondage to this material world. The word vrata refers to one who has decided not to marry, or in other words, not to indulge in sex life throughout his entire life. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So, it is further said in Srimad Bhagavatam here in this verse as to one should not be associating with women. Okay, so in this, Srila Prabhupada is explaining. So, a brahmachari or sannyasi is actually on. They take brihad vrata. Brihad vrata is to strictly follow celibacy, right, and give up any kind of sex life, right. So for them, it is associating with women is not at all advisable, and also alongside any literature or anything uh, which is concerning like discussion between man and woman and about women is not at all recommended, right, because this is also somewhere where one's spiritual progress may be derailed. So that is why it is said as a basic principle to actually not um, restrict to restrict oneself from associating with women. And this is part of all the other Vedic literatures also. Srila Prabhupada is saying in his purport that this is part of all the Vedic literatures, not only here in Srimad Bhagavatam, right? And avoiding sex life is something which helps one to progress from brahmacharya to grihastha, grihastha to vanaprastha, and from vanaprastha to sannyasa. And once one is making these gradual transitions, one will be able to, following these injunctions from the scriptures, one will be able to give up the tendency tendency that is there to enjoy in the material world, right. And this tendency is what is causing us to be bound to this material world, which is causing us to take repeated birth and death, right. So this can be avoided, and we can transition by actually doing whatever is prescribed, right. So what is prescribed here is actually non-indulgence into avoid sex life, right. And this is what is said for the brahmachari. And also there is also guidelines for grihastha. Okay, and even for it is said, Srila Prabhupada is saying in the previous verse that even for sannyasas, such thing can be very agitating. It can be very provoking to actually uh, associate with women or interact with women. So it will never be safe for a brahmachari to actually do that, right? So for all of us in the Grihastha ashram also, we have mindful about our interactions with people of other gender. Okay, we will continue. Can someone please read the translation purpose?
Yeah, shall I read, Mataji? Hare Krishna.
Please, Mataji.
Yeah, translation. If the wife of the spiritual master is young, a young brahmachari should not allow her to care for his hair, massage his body with oil, or bathe him with affection like a mother. Purport. The relationship between the student or disciple and the wife of the spiritual master or teacher is like that between son and mother. A mother sometimes cares for her son by combing his hair, massaging his body with oil, or bathing him. Similarly, the wife of the teacher is also a mother, Guru Patni, and therefore she may also care for the disciple in a motherly way. If the wife of the teacher is a young woman, however, a young brahmachari,
should not allow such a mother to touch him. This is strictly prohibited. There are 7 kinds of mothers. These mothers are the original mother, the wife of the teacher or spiritual master, the wife of a Brahmana, the king's wife, the cow, the nurse, and the earth. Unnecessary association with women, even with one's mother, sister, or daughter, is strictly prohibited. This is human civilization. A civilization that allows men to mix unrestrictedly with women is an animal civilization. In Kali Yuga, people are extremely liberal, but mixing with women and talking with them as equals actually constitutes an uncivilized way of life. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, thank you. Yeah. So, Srimad Bhagavatam is also telling how a brahmachari cannot actually allow even his guru's wife to actually care for him. Right? Guru's wife is actually one of the 7 mothers Shastras say that the wife of the spiritual master or the teacher is actually mother. But when the mother is young, what happens is that such a mother cannot act as a mother or do motherly activities like caring for the child. Like when the child is there, the child's hair is combed, given him a bath, and massage, his body is massaged. So all these things, how a mother does, the spiritual master's wife or the teacher's wife cannot do when she is young, and the brahmachari should not allow for it, right? Because this is also causing something like situation which wherein there is unrestricted kind of mingling, right? So because it can actually stray the senses, and it can create lot of problems maintaining the vow of the of celibacy that one has taken, right? So unnecessary mingling between even if it is one's mother or sister or daughter is not recommended, right? Shastras don't recommend that. Srila Prabhupada in his purport is strongly saying this culture of unrestricted mingling is a culture, unrestricted mingling with women is a culture of an animal civilization. This is not how humans should behave, right? So we hear a lot of times when we restrict people from mingling with other gender, they kind of see, they will see you as very narrow minded. Okay, they'll see you as very narrow minded, very restricted, very old school, old thoughts, grandmother types. All these things people might imagine or might say or might think, but Srimad Bhagavatam, Srila Prabhupada is clearly saying this kind of culture, this civilization where there is unrestricted mixing between the opposite genders is an animal civilization. So next time someone says you just for being right and just for being for saying whatever is quoted in Srimad Bhagavatam, please, you can be guilt free. You can feel that it's not you have not done anything wrong, but at the same time it is not it's not to school anyone, it is not to kind of make things uncomfortable for anyone, but when it is not prescribed with the reference of the shastras, one can mention it, right? So that is always there, and whatever might be the reaction of that, one might not get need not get perturbed by it, because clearly here Srila Prabhupada himself is saying this is animal civilization when we allow for unrestricted mingling between the opposite genders. Okay. And more so in work cultures and in workplaces and Kali Yuga, people see this as, maybe they might term it as diversity and inclusion. Diversity and inclusion, very true. Everyone wants to be included and considered part of the team, part of the group. But all interactions, as it is said, to the extent that is needed and with proper social conduct. Right, so it should not be over the top. It should not think in a way that it's being liberal or it's being something else. So that actually constitutes an uncivilized way of life. So we should be always mindful of these behaviors when we interact with people. So where is this interaction going, right? So is it to what is required, or are we taking it out of the boundaries of interaction? This is something one has to be very, very mindful, right? Yeah. We'll go on. Text 9. Yeah. Can someone please read?
I can read Mataji.
Sure, Prabhuji.
Sarvam
Hare
Prakash.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Uh, Translation. Woman is compared to fire, and man is compared to a butter pot. There is a man, therefore, a man should avoid associating even with his own daughter in a secluded place. Similarly, he should also avoid association with other women. One should associate with women only for important business and not otherwise. Purport by His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. If a butter pot and fire are kept together, the butter within the pot will certainly melt. Woman is compared to fire, and a man is compared to the butter pot. However advanced one may be in restraining the senses, it is almost impossible for a man to keep himself controlled in the presence of a woman, even if she is his own daughter, mother, or sister. Indeed, his mind is agitated, even if one is in the renounced order of life. Therefore, Vedic civilization carefully restricts mingling between men and women. If one cannot understand the basic principle of restraining association between man and woman, he is to be considered an animal. That is the purport of this verse. Hare Krishna Mataji.
Yeah, this is Srimad Bhagavatam, saying, this is our guide, right? So Srimad Bhagavatam is telling clearly that one should not associate with the opposite gender, unless, and there it's also giving us guidelines even when associating with the people in the family, right? Daughter, mother, sister, even when we interact with them, please avoid interacting with them in a secluded place, right? What to say about other women, right? Outside the family, even with them, this is the guidelines that Srimad Bhagavatam is giving. And it's a very nice example that Srimad Bhagavatam is putting here of a fire and butter pot. Women are compared to fire and men are compared to butter pot. So it is a well-known thing that when we bring fire or whatever butter is there, we can also kind of melt it by putting it in fire, right? When you heat it, the butter will melt. Similarly, when the woman and the fire comes near to the butter pot, the butter melts, right? So that is the effect of the fire on the butter pot. Similarly, however one might be controlled when it comes to their senses with respect to this matter, it is always better to be safe, right? And to be safe, try to avoid these interactions in secluded places. Try to avoid when one is alone. So these things are something one can try consciously to actually not get into a state where one's senses are agitated, right? So even in renounced order, the mind actually gets agitated. That is what Srila Prabhupada is saying. Even in renounced order, there are challenges, right? So for grihasthas and other practicing devotees, we should not undermine these challenges, and we should be very mindful and watchful of not getting into that such scenarios, right? Again, Srila Prabhupada is saying this one who cannot understand this principle, right? He or she can be treated as or considered as an animal, because this is actually for our own good, right? They're telling that the senses will get agitated, and the need for actually keeping our interactions according to whatever is prescribed here, right? We have to keep our interactions accordingly. But if one is not able to understand this basic principle, then Srila Prabhupada says he or she has to be considered as an animal, right? So that is what Srila Prabhupada is saying. Srimad Bhagavatam is itself very heavily saying that this is not a prescribed behavior to interact or associate with women, right? And Srila Prabhupada is also emphasizing on it, and how it is more like an animal tendency if you can't put efforts on that. Okay, we move on to the 10th verse. Today we'll discuss up to the 12th verse. I think it's okay. Can we extend the class for a bit till we complete the 12th verse? They're not very long translations or purport, but yeah, mostly they're very small.
Yes, yes, Mataji. Yes.
Yeah. So can we read the 10th verse? Purport maybe not, but just the translation. Yeah, sorry, I meant the translation.
Translation: as long as a living entity is not completely self-realized, as long as he is not independent of the misconception of identifying with his body, which is nothing but a reflection of the original body and senses, he cannot be relieved of the conception of duality, which is the epitomized, which is epitomized by the duality between man and. Thus, there is every chance that he will fall down because his intelligence is bewildered.
Yeah. So, actually, until one reaches the stage of being self-realized, one sees the dualities in life, right? One of the dualities is between, though we are not this body, we see the duality in terms of man, woman, and the other genders. So there is a very much possibility that we see these dualities. Then when because of the body, we see these dualities. It is actually very much possible that one senses might get drawn to that, right? The senses get drawn, and also our intelligence gets bewildered, or our intelligence gets more and more in a confusion state, right? Wherein you are not understanding the right conduct, right? So that is why one should be very, very cautious, very, very cautious. So as one gets elevated spiritually, they fail to see this duality between man and woman, as much as they fail to see even the duality or the difference between man and animal. That's when Bhagavad Gita says the Pandita or the self-realized soul actually sees with equal vision learned and gentle Brahmana, a cow, elephant, dog, and dog eater. Right? How they are able to see with equal vision is the level of consciousness they are at, right? And when one reaches there, maybe they don't see the duality between man and woman. But for all others who are practicing devotees, sadhakas, it is actually difficult to not see the duality, right? And then one actually should consciously make effort to understand how their interactions with women should be, right? That is a conscious ongoing effort, right? Wherever you are interacting with women, right? In the family, outside the family, at workplace, careful attention has to go, right? So one has to be very, very mindful, right? And this, when we attain the real knowledge, and that is when we will be able to understand, though there are differences, we will not see the dualities, and we will be able to see them equally. That is also what we see in the Achintya Veda Tattva philosophy by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, right? That is when you see everything as one, though there is difference. So till that stage, one should be very, very mindful. Okay, we move on to text 11. Can someone please read the translation? Purport again is very long, I think, so we just keep it to the translation.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, please read.
Translation. All the rules and regulations apply equally to the householder and the sannyasi, the member of the renounced order of life. The Gresta, however, is given permission by the spiritual master to indulge in the sex during the period favorable for procreation. Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna. Sure, Satyadev Prabhuji, thank you very much for joining. Hare Krishna, Dhamma. So, so here actually there is some slight misconception around the people who take grihastha life. So brahmachari is taken the vow of celibacy. Sannyasa is also on the vow of celibacy. But Grihastha is not taken a vow of celibacy. That does not give a Grihastha license or a permission to indulge in unrestricted sex life, right? So it is like one is, if you see one, even in the Grihastha ashram, is actually following all what the celibates are following, because unless one has permission from the spiritual master, from the teacher, to involve in sex life, one should not involve in sex life. This is actually, sex life is only with the objective of procreation or begetting children. That is the only objective of sex life. It is not to uh, any sense gratification which is not centered around Krishna, which is not with the intention, the right intention of procreation, is actually considered as illicit sex. It might be sex in the marriage, but Srila Prabhupada says this is illicit sex. Any wasted semen comes under illicit sex. So only when the sex is for procreation, it is approved by the spiritual master, one should indulge in sex for procreation. Otherwise, what happens is that this again is something which can derail spiritual progress. The objective is to actually reduce one's tendency to enjoy, right? Enjoy without Krishna at center, or reduce one's sense gratification, right? So unrestricted sex life comes into this category, right? And for brahmacharis and sannyasis, there is a very, very strong guidelines or restrictions on it. For grihasthas also, it is under the order of Guru, and it is said Guru Vrittir Vikalpena. Okay, because we are following our Guru, our spiritual mentor, it is under the guidelines of it, or more so, it is from the perspective of procreating or begetting children. Nothing beyond that. Okay, that is the right way of doing it, and also the the grihastha should take permission from the spiritual master, should do garbhadan sanskara, and then this it is the activity of procreating is allowed. And then there is different again in a social class of kshatriyas, it is mentioned that one can take to have more than one wife, but that is not for everyone. But even for a kshatriya, this also, even the act of marrying more than once, is in accordance of the instructions of the spiritual master. It is not independent of the instruction of the spiritual master, right? So that is how one should think about the activities that is doing in their life, right? Unless we are following the instructions and conducting our life accordingly to make spiritual progress, we might not even say that we are on a spiritual life, or we are having a spiritual life, right? One's life must be totally guided by the instructions of a spiritually superior authority. That is what Srila Prabhupada is saying, because that is when you get mercy. Like the morning prayers that we sang, Yasya Prasadat Bhagavat Prasada. Only then mercy comes through the spiritual master. The mercy of Krishna comes through the spiritual master. And anyone who wants to spiritually advance must not do anything according to their own wish, right? Sometimes lot of times we just thinking that we know or we understand the situation, or we are in a position to take decision, we take decisions, right? These decisions sometimes they might be something very which might not be related to sadhana per se, or the spiritual progress per se. They might be in the material kind of scheme of things, but they can affect us when we do our sadhana, right? If I were to take up some activity which is not allowing me enough time to do my spiritual activities, that is a cause of concern. So just because I'm in a position to take decision, or I think this is good for me and I take the decision, I might land into trouble. So it is always good for a sadhaka, practicing devotee, not to do anything by one's own whims and fancies, and follow the instructions of a superior spiritual authority. It can be the spiritual master, it can be the spiritual mentor, and also you can take guidance from someone who is spiritually more advanced, spiritually more advanced senior Vaishnava, right? Because this is all the ways in which the spiritual mentor is trying to kind of guide you, right? So these are ways in which you are getting instructions, you are getting guided, right? So that is what it says. um, so this is in general context and also with respect to the sex life. Okay, last verse, can someone please read the translation?
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Translation: Brahmacharis or Grahastha who have taken the vow of celibacy as described above should not indulge in the following: applying powder or ornament to the eyes, massaging the head with oil, massaging the body with the hands, seeing a woman or painting a woman's picture, eating meat, drinking wine, decorating the body with flowers, garland, smearing scented ornament on the body, or decorating the body with ornament. These they should give up. Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna. Yeah. So further, there now combined instructions for the brahmacharis and grihasthas who have taken the vow of celibacy. Brahmachari, we understand, is already on vow of celibacy, and grihasthas only for procreation. So, in these circumstances, how should one in both these ashramas conduct themselves, right? So, avoiding things which actually come into the category of over dressing up. So, this is one thing I have also heard from His Holiness Rompa Swami Maharaj. Our dressing is should not be so when we say sometimes we say that we should not do we should not dress ourselves, right? So this is something that I heard from Maharaj, is that uh, dressing ourselves means we should be presentable. Since Srimad Bhagavatam is said we should not dress ourselves, if I were to very sloppily dress up, it is not a very good thing to do, because we are actually we are showing also to the people around that how a devotee is, right? So we people are constantly observing us. Some are taking inspiration from us because Yadyat Acharati Shrestha. Okay, some are taking inspiration from us, and constantly this is going on, right? So one should not be very sloppily dressed. We should be presentable. At the same time, we should not overdress. Overdress by decorating a bit too much. So that is what this shloka should be taken as or understood as, and it should. Then there are various things that are mentioned here. Applying ointment, scented ointment to to the eyes, ointment, and you know. Then further putting lot of jewelry, ornaments, and flower garlands to decorate oneself, right? So all these things, along with seeing women or painting women's picture, meat eating, alcohol, all these are strictly to be avoided for brahmacharis and grihasthas. This is just to kind of give us a guidelines on how we should conduct ourselves, not overdress, just to be presentable. Okay. So that is yeah. This brings us to
Hare
the
Krishna
end of
Mataji.
discussion. Yes.
Mataji, I do not understand this. The three lines: applying powder ornament to the eyes, massaging the
Mm,
head with oil. Generally, we
mm,
used to do, right. While massage, everyone can do, right, and
mm,
massaging the body with the hands. I do not understand this, Mataji. Why it is creating problem? Any idea, Mataji?
Prabhuji, generally, there are two things, Prabhuji. Things are done from a mental perspective, from what is needed perspective in moderation is okay. Like even when people exercise, right? We should not say that you should not exercise because this is not a Krishna consciousness activity. People can exercise in moderation because it is needed for the maintenance of the body. Right. Similarly, massaging the head with oil, I understand this in this context that if one is doing it to actually enhance one's beauty and and it's bringing you a more of a bodily conception, right? It is attaching you to your body more. This is something we should not do. I think this is what Srimad Bhagavatam is trying to say is don't overdo it. Don't do it with the conception of the bodily conception that I have to appear pretty when I massage my hair grows and I look more pretty and I become more prettier. I stay young, I stay youthful. So this bodily conception should not be there. But when it comes to maintaining the body, that is required. For example, at one point I heard that Srila Prabhupada was told since because of the body ailments that the doctors advised him massage every day, right? Prabhupada had to undergo body massage every day, and that was very much needed for him to toxins in his body. The body itself was not able to expel the toxins, and it came to a situation that he had to take the massage to actually deal with that condition. So that is not uh, prohibited or forbidden. So similarly for us, when we do it with the intention to keep ourselves healthy, that is perfectly all right, Prabhuji. The context here is only from the perspective of decorating ourselves or enhancing beauty. This is my understanding, Prabhuji. Yeah.
Sure, Mataji. Thank you, Mataji. I understood, Mataji.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. Yeah. This brings us to the end of this discussion today. If you have any questions, you can ask questions. I will try to answer them. I have very limited knowledge, but yeah, anything I can answer, I will answer. Otherwise, we can ask His Grace Lilananda Prabhuji.
Thank you, Mataji. Wonderful class, Mataji.
Thank you
Hare
so
Krishna.
much. Thank you so much, Sucharita Mataji,
Thank you,
for
Prabhuji.
presenting this.
I am a translator, Prabhuji. I translate whatever His Holiness Rompal Swami Maharaj says from English to Telugu. Today I did English to English translation of what Srila Prabhupada said. So it is Srila Prabhupada saying, I try to translate, and wherever I have maybe overstepped a little, I consciously tried, but if I overstepped a little, I seek forgiveness from all the Vaishnavas here. My only intention was to probably elaborate it a little, but yeah. It's only a translation to Srila Prabhupada's translation, Prabhuji. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes,
thank you so
Mataji,
much.
Thank you.
that's where we have to repeat.
Yeah.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you,
Wonderful
Mataji.
class, Mataji. Thank you very much. Wonderful class.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji. If there any more questions,
Oh, Mataji, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Mataji. Very nice class.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Mataji, for the opportunity. As I said, it is just whatever I have read, I have translated again into English. That's all I have done. Thank you so much for the service. Vansha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Mataji, I'll end the session here.
Thank you.